please help me welcome our first speaker representing Al-Anon, Hannah T.
Let me start my timer there. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah, grateful member of Al-Anon. Hi. So I'd like to just share my experience about being sponsored and sponsoring others. So once upon a time, there was a newcomer who was deeply affected by the disease of alcoholism, came to Al-Anon and asked someone to be her sponsor. Not knowing anything about it, I expected her to be the mom I never had, which was actually a recipe for disaster, and it didn't work out. Then I left Al-Anon, came back the second time with the gift of desperation, G-O-D. I was desperate, and I will do anything that anyone tells me to do because it was a matter of life and death. So the second time, I did ask someone to be my sponsor, and she said, let me pray about it for a month. And I was like, a month? You mean I can't ask anyone else for a month? So I felt like I was hell in the hallway and waiting for her to give me an answer. And a month passes by and she says, okay, I've prayed about it for a month, and yes, I will sponsor you. But we must talk 5 days a week. And I was like, what? Maybe I should pray about it for a month, because that was terrifying. Like, I don't talk to anyone that often because I'm fearful of people. If I talk to someone that often, they'll get to know me and know what a piece of crap I am. And that was the fear. But anyway, I mean, she prayed about it for a month. I can't say no now. I mean, people pleasing. So I went with it, and it turned out to be wonderful. So when it came down to my fourth step, I had to tell her all the demoralizing things I did to get love. And I was so afraid of telling her, like she would reject me and judge me for sure. And when I told her, she said, of course you acted that way. You were desperate for love. And that made me trust her. Like, I was not rejected. I wasn't excommunicated. And that became the first healthy, intimate relationship in my life. Because then I could tell someone my deepest, darkest secrets that I never told anyone else. The shame, the guilt, and I started to feel growth and trust and some freedom. And when I did the 4 steps, she took me through the Blueprint for Progress. And if you know what that book is, it's super thorough. Like Al-Anons would make a workbook to be so thorough. It's like exploratory surgery. And not to scare anyone, but it took me 3 years and 10 months to finish that workbook with a sponsor. And at the end, I had a graduation party at my house because my joke was, people get law degrees in less time than that, so I deserve a party. And so then after that, we went our separate ways, and then I was looking for a new sponsor. And I kept asking everyone, hey, I just finished my 9th step. I'm looking for a sponsor to start me on the 10th step. Will you do it? No, 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 no. 4 no's. And then I asked my current sponsor, and she said yes. And I went, great. And then she said, but we're going to start over at the first step. But here is the reason why she did that, because I don't get to be in control and tell her how to sponsor me. I have to be humble and stay teachable. And so that began a new journey with a new sponsor. So so here is the sponsorship pamphlet. that I had learned from previous sponsors to work through with new sponsees before we start anything, because they need to know that I'm not going to be their substitute mom. There's no way I could do that for anyone. So in the pamphlet it says, being too shy or too proud to do so could mean the difference between finding a new life in the program or returning to misery and loneliness. We look for someone who has what we want and with whom we feel comfortable. So that was that pride. I want someone to start me off here because I don't want to start over. When it came to the 4-step, she knew that I went through the Blueprint for Progress, so she suggested that I do the Alateen 4-step workbook. And this is the book. It is very deceiving, let me tell you. It looks cute. You get to draw, it's like draw your feelings, But it hits a depth into childhood and what it's, because I'm an adult child of alcoholics, so it really hit home. I'm crying and teeth gnashing. And I'm like, wait a minute, this book was supposed to be fun and light. It's not. So I warned you all now. One thing that I love about my sponsor is I say that she's like a famous dog trainer who has the keen sense to be able to notice when a dog twitches its ear or something, it's about to go into fear, panic, attack mode in 0 seconds, And that's me. I go into fear, panic, attack mode, which makes my life unmanageable. So, for instance, I'm calling her up and I'm telling her about my stupid neighbors. They did this. Guess what they did? I can't believe. And she goes, "Shh," just like that dog trainer does to the dogs. Where's your daily reader? That's not going to help me because they did this and they need to be stopped. And shh. Let's look in the index. No, there is nothing in the index under S for stupid neighbors. Why don't we try detachment? Why don't we try letting go? And so basically, that dog trainer interrupts that thought process that spirals down and puts in a new idea. And that's what my sponsor does for me. And guess what? Neighbors were not killed. So in the sponsorship pamphlet, it says, sponsors may prod us occasionally or remind us of program principles. Sponsors do not wave magic wands, resolve difficulties, make decisions, or become responsible for us. Sponsors may suggest available options for us, some of which we may not have thought ourselves, especially in the fear, panic, attack mode. And that's under the heading, how will a sponsor help me and everyone else around me, including the neighbors. So I need to be reminded all the time. My sponsor has these little sayings that still to this day, I need that. And one time a friend of mine was spiraling on social media. She was going into this descent, and I'm like, we must do something, and all these people are commenting, and she's like, no, she refused any help. And I'm like, but she's gonna die. And my sponsor said, did you pray for her? I said, of course not. That's not enough. But my sponsor reminds me that praying for her is doing something. And I forget that a lot. She'll also ask me, why are you having such a big reaction to this? Because it's usually not about the topic. It's about what's inside that's getting triggered. And it has nothing to do with the people, places, or things. And then she says, what have you come to believe in? Because I forget that a higher power can restore me to sanity. And what is your motive? And those questions are like that interrupt my spiraling thinking, my disease of obsession, control, and distorted thinking. So about 5 years in the program, others started to ask me to be a sponsor. And I would say, oh no, not till I finish all 12 steps, and that was I'm too scared. I don't want to sponsor yet. And one person asked me to be her sponsor, and I told my sponsor, so-and-so asked me to be her sponsor, and I said no, and she goes, I told her to ask you. Why would you do that? And so she says, I think you're ready. I'm like, no, I'm only on step 6. I think it's time. Like Yoda. So I did go back to her. I said, I will sponsor you. And I did go back and make amends to all the people who asked me, because I was trying to push them away because of my fear. Oh, not till I'm done with all 12 steps. And that really was fear. So my standard practice, how I choose to sponsor, is I like consistency. So a certain day and time belongs to each sponsee every week. And we, again, like I said, we go through this pamphlet first before any other pieces of literature. We do a 6-week trial and then check in and see if how do we feel about each other? It's kind of like dating, It's like, is this a good fit? Is it worth moving forward? And that's been really a great tool. And also, I take sponsees through the steps, traditions, and concepts in about 4 to 5 Al-Anon literature books that has all 3 in them. And the challenges that I've had with sponsoring, and maybe you all can relate, is having someone who is resistant. And it's a little bit more difficult to work with sometimes. I mean, some sponsees are more willing than others. And that kind of keeps me remembering that I want to be willing. I want to be willing. I don't want to oppose my sponsor or debate. The other thing I've learned is carry the message, not the person. And it says in the pamphlet, a sponsor is involved but not entangled with the member. The same principles we learn to use with the alcoholic can be used just as effectively in this situation. Live and let go and let God. And my first sponsor said something to me because I told her, hey, I met this guy online and I want to go to Texas to meet him. And she said, and I'm thinking she's going to just tell me, no, you shouldn't do that. And she said, well, I don't think it's a good idea, but it's your life. And I was like, oh, okay. And that I learned to pass that practice along, is that my sponsees are choices. And then there's breakups, whether you're the dumper or the dumpee. It's tough when you're a sponsor, when someone dumps me or I have to dump them. The sad part is, it's very hard for me to accept that I want the program for them more than they want it for themselves. And when is it time to let go? And that's really painful breakups. I have learned the phrase, I would like to change our relationship from sponsor-sponsee to friends. And I've had to use that twice in all the years. And it's worked out well. I am friends with the 2 people I've had to say that to. Usually when they break up with me, I know it's not personal, but I do have to consider what their feelings are and have to look at that. Is that in its true perspective? And I will close with sponsorship is my favorite form of service because it's the most organic and pure, like one alcoholic talking to another, like Bill and Dr. Bob, and like Lois and the wives in her kitchen. And it's intimate. It's an intimate relationship with mutual benefits, and we both grow. And as a sponsor, it's a privilege to bear witness to another person's growth, blossoming, and recovery. And because I was so sick and very suicidal when I came in, I know firsthand what this program can do. And I know it saved my life. It can save other people's lives. And this is a great design for living, which is not organized or governed and works best if I remain obedient to the unenforceable. And all this program asks is that we're willing. And so I really, really appreciate being here tonight and talking with you. And I love you all. Thank you for letting me come and speak.